Welcome to Sam's Antique Motors. Sam Wilson here. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about building the wrecker boom for this 59 NAPCO. At some point in its life, possibly all of its life, it served as a wrecker on a racetrack. And by the time we got it, the wrecker was gone and the flatbed welded on, so I cut all that off. So I studied wreckers of the time and tried to recreate something that was appropriate. And given that I'm trained formally with 5 years of higher education in the field of architecture, I'm capable of producing some very sophisticated CAD documentation. So pictured here is my drawing that I produced this from. I started with this. I used the profiles out of the assembly manual and the heritage documents to create this backdrop. And then from there, I drew in a CNC plasma cutter program called Plasma Cam, all the little brackets and components. There's probably about 50 of them. And then I sent that out to my good friend Mike at J&J Metal. And Mike always does a great job creating all the little plasma pieces. And I picked those up. And then I went over to my good friend Sean Best at Best Welding here in LaGrange. And he and I worked for a day to tack weld this all together and get it up in the air. And what makes my welds great is a great grinder, but what makes Sean's welds great is just looking at his welds. So it really turned out nice. We still got a little bit more to go on it, but you can kind of see where it's going, and it's going to really make this truck a distinguishing truck when we get done. So here's some in progress video. Probably be a pretty good idea to keep your fingers out of that, isn't it? Right there.
This is welded back all in now. That's packed in.
Okay, that was one day of tack welding and positioning and fitting. And that was then followed by the obligatory Facebook post from Best Welding, proof that I was actually engaged in the project there. And from there, we've got pretty much the main boom mocked up. We now got to build the riser bar that supports this, because this boom is designed to be able to collapse into the bed of the pickup truck. It's got a 9-foot bed, so it'll fold up and fold down in the bottom and carry the spare tire when you don't want to see it as a wrecker. So stay tuned for the final video progress. Well, here's the finished product, more or less finished. I got it in primer. It's spent the morning cleaning all the little weld splatter off and sanding it, and then I degreased it and got all the cosmoline and all the rust off of it, a little surface rust just from being outside, and got it pretty much all ready to go. So this is a spare tire carrier. This is the pivot point for the forward sheave. So this goes up and folds in to let this thing down. Had my buddy Sean do all the welding, and he just makes it look like a robot. So got everything really looking nice, smooth. Everything looked good. And then the stand that supports it, I've got in the paint room. It's just easier to paint it inside. So we're gonna probably put some color on it tomorrow, and then we'll be ready to set it on the chassis. Well, here it is after the paint's been applied. I took some blue and mixed it with black to get it a little bit darker. And I think this color should look nice with the turquoise, a little contrast to it. So when this dries, we'll be ready to put it on the chassis. Well, it's all mounted up. If I have to say myself, this turned out pretty badass. This is the wrecker setup. So I got the 4-inch sheave that I pulled out of the boneyard in Atascosa County at Milam's place. Fabricated all this stuff up. This is the support. So this is the wood bed's gonna go through over this, so all you're really going to see is from here up. And then what happens is you pull this pin, it locks in, this whole mechanism here folds down, and it'll rest on that block right there. And when it does, this mechanism here will hook into here, the hole underneath there, and that'll let this whole mechanism collapse. And this piece up here folds up, so it'll pivot up and over, and then this will come down inside the bed. Really turned out nice. Tried to kind of pattern it off of wrecker assemblies of the time, all of which had some form of structural bracing. And this is the big badass Gar Wood winch right here. It's all hooked up. I got the drive shaft in today. So the drive shaft goes up to the little Chelsea PTO, all good. And then I made it where the spare tire mounts up on top of here. So we got the spare tire on there. And when this thing comes down, this all folds in. When it's sitting up there, you know, this piece here is exactly level. And then I got these little brackets here, so the hook will come back here. We'll put a little spring to hold the hook tight. Got a roller right here for the cable. And then we got a 4-bar roller up in here for this big 1/2-inch stainless rope to go through. So all turned out relatively nice. Of course, I've already got all the motor and chassis. Got new springs in it. These shocks came yellow, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna leave them that way or not. They're powder coated, so I kind of hate to paint over them because they'll just chip. But I'm trying to decide whether I like that or not. And got the Thrift Master sticker on there. Still got to get the front top water outlet, but I'm going to fabricate a little bracket to hold this down and hold this. And so got all that hooked up, got the drive shafts in. Something I learned from my good friend Sean Best that I didn't know is that these pieces here have to be indexed to these pieces. So these have to be in line. If not, this thing will shake itself apart. And I put it back in the way I found it, but this was not indexed. This was over here, like about here. So it was out of time. It's called timing the drive shaft, I believe. So I took that back apart and got that timed up right. Got the rear drive shaft in. So really came out nice. Thanks to Sean Best for fabricating this up with me. I had Mike McCulloch out at J&J Metal cut, I think there's about 40 brackets all told. And we slotted in all these pieces up here. So this piece comes back in here, put end caps on it. Really turned out nice. And made some calculations on this spare tire, and that came out just about right. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. It's gonna really make this truck. You know, when you don't want to see it, you fold it up and it goes down in the bed. So that's it. Thanks for checking out this segment. We're gonna get back on the cab bodywork, so the next segment will probably be looking at some final paint on the cab work. Thanks for tuning in.
Download the Resto-Rat app today to begin managing, tracking, and documenting your restoration project.